For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans. It's the middle of the week, and we're certainly not going to get any slow news days before President Trump is sworn in, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm super congested and have, I don't know, a cold or the plague or something this morning, so sorry if I sound funny.
Don't let him lie. He is patient number 3 with the bird flu that's getting ready to lead to all the lockdowns in this country. No, just kidding. Shout out to everybody out here in the Rumble chat. We've got Kelly Song already in the Rumble chat. We got Jason and Thaddeus in the Twitter chat, X chat. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching us on. If you're watching live, hop in the chat. I read all the comments, and we do our very best to include you guys as part of the show as much as possible. We've got an awesome show lined up for you guys here today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And before we get into everything, one other quick announcement. This Friday at 4 p.m., we'll be doing a live Q&A with Brandon Strock. You have to be a Patriot TV defender, but it'll be go to patriot.tv. You can select the Insurrection. There'll be a link there for it where you can sign up, or you can buy a one-time pass to join us. That'll be 4 p.m. this coming Friday, and we'll have more information pumped out on social media. So if you're following Derrick and I on X or anywhere else, we'll have all the information posted up there today, and more information coming out tomorrow. But the big story is, well, it's kind of I guess the big story is this, and this just continues to grow. Multiple homes are burning as Los Angeles firefighters are having issues with water pressure. Wildfire rages out of control. Hydrants are dry. And this started really hitting the news yesterday evening. I guess during the day, some videos started going viral with a woman that I'm not sure if she was a firefighter or, I don't know, a firefighter enthusiast based on her name on Twitter. But she captured video of a homeless woman setting fires. It looked like against like railroad tracks or something like that. I'm actually trying to our video player just crashed. Well, no video today, but this is what happens when you leave a city and you let it turn into an open air mental institution. Expect things like this to happen. Now, I don't know that for sure, like if the homeless people are the root cause that started this massive wildfire, but again, if you're not treating the problem, expect consequences.
Man, there is so much to unpack with all this. I'll in a quick way, I'll say that this is all due to liberal policies. It's exactly what all this comes down to. For instance, Los Angeles refused to fill the water reservoirs, and that's part of the reason there was no water now in the fire hydrants to fight the fires. And so, you got these people who are losing everything right now, and it's all due to, DEI and people bowing at the altar and worshiping the climate change nonsense. They've routed water that's normally flowing through their area out into the ocean and all these other places and they've done a lot of this stuff in the name of protecting the Delta smelt, which is a little tiny fish that nobody cares about. I doubt any of these people who are losing their property right now and losing lives are sitting there thinking, well, thank God we've got a lesbian fire chief who has hired a bunch of incompetent people due to DEI policies, and we have no water because we're not allowed to catch rainwater, and they divert the other water because of a Delta smelt. Thank God all those things are, I'm okay with losing my brother, my sister, my mom, my child, and my home and my property as long as we save the Delta smelt. I doubt a single person has thought that this entire time. You're muted, brother.
Sorry, I was sneezing. Didn't want everybody to have to hear it. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. We've talked literally about this before, and I did it in a joking way last time that they were shutting down farms because of this 3-inch fish. But again, these are the consequences when you don't put humanity first, and instead you think Gaia, Mother Earth, is the most important thing in the equation, and you're not considering the consequences. Or maybe you are. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they know that this would eventually lead to, if there was a major fire outbreak, that this would be an underlying cause. Just like they don't clear brush out of the forests, they don't do basic maintenance or controlled burns or anything else out in California. They let this stuff just run out of control, and then eventually there's consequences, and those consequences have there's a human cost to it, whether it's burning down giant neighborhoods and small towns outside of LA, or now it's affecting them directly. I'll have to, let me double check, see what the fire's up to. It's over 900 acres yesterday, so I imagine 9,000 yesterday, so I imagine it's significantly over that now, and since it's into the Palisades. I actually got a message yesterday from a friend of mine that I guess the apartment he used to live in burned down, that they sent out a message to all their tenants. He's still on their list. And basically they were saying, we're going to get through this tragedy together. They own other properties around LA. They're going to try to help people get relocated. But this is a major, major interruption to everybody's lives, not to mention the monetary loss, all their possessions, having to start over, losing all the memories. But this is the consequences when you put Mother Earth over humanity.
Yeah, well, I want to give a shout out to, in the Twitter chats here, we've also got Kristen, Myra, Foxtradamus, and Thaddeus says this is the Newsom effect. Kristen says the DEI fire chief, and her name is Kristen. And then Foxtradamus says, but they did prioritize Trump-proofing California. They got that right, at least. And here's the thing. I want people to understand, like, I love nature. I truly, I hunt, I fish, all those things, but I think these are the people who love nature the most. For instance, we just got hit with a major snowstorm and ice storm here in West Virginia, as a lot of the country did. You know what I've done the last 2 days while I go out there to feed my animals and bust out the ice out of all the water buckets for the chickens, the pigs, the cows, and all these things. And I turned around and took extra corn for the chickens and dumped it out here. I cleared out a spot in my yard and dumped a bunch of corn out for the deer and the birds, because I felt bad for them, because everything's covered in snow and ice right now, 7 or 8 inches of that, and I feel bad for them. And so I dumped that out for no reason other than to help them out and to feed them. And I say that just to say, what's going on in California with putting the people who are pushing these initiatives and claiming that you can't do something to protect nature. Number one, they don't even care about nature. They care about control, and they use the Delta smell and all these other ways as a way to get what they want. At the end of the day, they don't care about nature. I promise you, they're not out doing the things that most people who hunt and fish and farm are doing on a regular basis. These people don't even have a clue about nature, how the ecosystem works. They've read about it in a book. They live in a high-rise apartment surrounded by concrete, and then they want to tell farmers in California and other people that they can't catch rainwater and all these other things, and you can't fill up the reservoirs. I mean, it's truly insanity as to what's going on. We're letting these people who don't have a clue what they're talking about control and make decisions for the rest of that state, and it's putting people in harm's way. For instance, they are opposed to controlled burns, which would manage the forest floor out there and prevent a lot of this, and fire breaks, taking dozers going through there and clearing out some areas for fire breaks. Like they're opposed to all those things, which are common sense. The natives did those things. The natives burnt the first. I mean, this is what happened for thousands and thousands of years. And this is what happens when you prevent nature from doing what it's supposed to do. That she's going to do what she's going to do eventually anyways.
Almost was muted again. Exactly. And you know, I was just trying to find this while you were talking, but I wasn't able to pull the story up fast enough. But I know a few years ago, and I believe it was in Northern California, same thing, wildfire outbreak. They almost prosecuted, I think it was a subdivision that went out and cleared all the brush around their house. And then California's EPA went after them for it. They were trying to create a fire break, same thing, so their neighborhood wouldn't burn down. And instead, they went after them. I think they ended up dropping the case afterwards. But that's what I was just trying to find, because they did have a fire outbreak in the area. And of course, that subdivision then gets spared because they cleaned out the area around them, created a safe distance between the wall around their subdivision so it wouldn't leap that. And, they end up spared, but they almost, went to jail or got heavily fined over taking basic steps to protect themselves. You're right, too, with the DEI fire hires. We don't need a bunch of guys, one-armed midgets in wheelchairs just to make your fire department look diverse enough. You need people that can do the job. There are certain jobs, there's the basic physical requirements. Like if you can't carry another person out of a building, an adult, then you can't be in that role. I'm sorry, you might be 5 foot tall and just in love with the fire department. That's all you ever dreamed about growing up. But if you're that small and you're not able to physically do the job, or, you're missing an arm or whatever else, if you're not capable of doing the job, you can't be put in that role. We can't just look at diversity isn't everything. You have to be able to actually rescue people. Just like you wouldn't hire somebody that, well, in their normal circumstances, you wouldn't hire a firefighter that didn't have a first aid training, wasn't a competent medic as well. Generally, that's a requirement now. But instead, for the sake of diversity, we make compromises that have real costs that lead to real tragedy, like what we're seeing now there. And again, it's several things converging together to create this disaster.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you sit here and look at all the DEI policies going on out there in conjunction with all the nonsense of not allowing them to collect water, not allowing the water to flow freely through their state, not filling up the reservoirs, so now there's no water in the fire hydrants. When you think about all those things combined, I sit here and I envision the person fighting this fire. You're wondering why it's out of control. I sit here and I envision a left-handed transgender midget standing there with a little tiny handheld water gun squirting at the fire, and that's basically what they're handcuffed and forced to do at this point. And I doubt a single person who has lost everything is sitting there saying, "Well, it's okay. We've met our DEI quota, and we saved the Delta smelt or whatever it's called." I doubt that they're thinking about that right now. They're thinking about common sense things like, I've lost everything that I've ever owned. I'm happy to be alive if they are, or I've lost loved ones. This is truly sad, but at the same time, at a certain point, and this is going to step on a few toes, and that's fine. But as a whole, this is obviously not everybody, but at a certain point, as a whole, as a collective, the people in California have to start looking at themselves in the mirror for continuing to elect these Nazis who are using this climate change and nature initiative to grab power and to enforce tyranny at the end of the day, because that's exactly what it comes down to. So they're going to have to really come together and ask themselves at the next election if these are the results that they're wanting to continue going with. Now, I know there's some of the most conservative people you'll ever meet are in California, because they live and breathe and sleep and feel the tyranny on a local level every single day. A lot of us in red states, we see a lot of these things from the outside. We feel the tyranny from the federal government, but at least we have a safe haven from the local people. So some of the most conservative people you ever meet are the conservatives who live in these super blue areas. But like at a certain point, the blue people in California are going to have to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, do they want to continue down this path?
Yeah, and it looks like I'm still trying to find an update on how much acreage is burning now, but it looks like that the wind's picking up today. They're expecting it to massively spread again, and this was part of the issue yesterday. These winds fuel the wildfires. It in some cases it's strong enough to help them to jump barriers. And I want to highlight one other problem before we kind of move on to some additional stories, but This also kind of underscores the ongoing infrastructure problem they had in Ohio, in California. These fires now, people are getting trapped on the freeway and having to walk to safety because they don't have enough infrastructure for people to evacuate, especially when they pull at last minute. You guys probably saw the video in the Palisades of everybody stopping their cars on the freeway because they're just jammed up, not going anywhere, and having to walk to safety because now the fire's that close to them. And if this continues to spread, especially into downtown Los Angeles or an area like that where people are tightly packed, it's only going to get worse. So if you're in LA and you can leave, I'd get out now before things get even worse, because this could turn into a huge disaster with a massive human toll.
Yeah, and so just to put this in perspective, I mean, I've helped fight some forest fires here in West Virginia. Nothing on this scale, and I can only imagine this. But I was reading reports that this fire was moving at the speed of 2 to 3 football fields per minute. Okay, wow. That's how fast this fire, and we're talking flames 40, 50 foot in the air or whatever, moving at 2 to 3 football fields per minute. That's how fast this is moving when these big gusts of 80 to 100 mile an hour winds are coming through. And then what's happened is these ambers are being thrown, through the wind and miles away and starting new fires, which are called new starts. And so usually when you have a big forest fire, they have mutual aid. So they'll bring the resources in from surrounding, communities to come in and help. And they're doing that, but they can't send everybody because of the new start. So now they got multiple fires, so they can't send all the firefighters from one location because they're having to fight the new starts that's over there before it gets into this, out of control like this as well. And so that's really what's happening here is you've got just a lot of working parts. And then another issue that not a lot of people have mentioned is when you brought up the freeways, and I saw videos of this, and some of the main freeways out there in this area, or some of the main roads to get out of the city into the freeway, some of the lanes have been taken over for the last year or so with homeless people. Some people have pulled vehicles in there with RVs, and some people have just got tents and such. So the roads that are already congested in California are even more bottlenecked because some of the lanes on each side have been taken over. And it's against the law to do that, but they've just allowed this to happen. So it's been taken over by people who've just been pulling in campers and pitching tents and stuff on the side of the road. So it's made this whole thing, this mess. That's why, it's been harder for people to get out of that area on the road. And that's probably why a lot of people just got trapped and got out and ran on foot, which is really scary to think about as well.
That's crazy. I hadn't seen that lanes blocked from homeless encampments, but again, like we said earlier, like that's part of the consequences. And I don't know for sure that this fire was started by some pyromaniac mental case that lives in a tent now, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't treat the underlying cause, out of control homelessness, where you're incentivizing people to come to California because they won't be prosecuted, they can do drugs, they can shoot up wherever they want, and they're just allowed to stay there and fester. It damages the local community while they're there, just with the rising crime, safety issues, the way it looks, and everything else. But then when you have somebody also that's pyromaniac going around setting these fires, then it just compounds. And like you said, if they're blocking up lanes, and I've seen this in other places where they build up these giant encampments in and around highways. I don't remember if it was LA or if it was San Francisco or if it was Portland. Who cares? They all look alike. Where they were like on the median on the highway, and it looked like a small town in there. Where people, the video I watched was a guy like literally building a house out of a shed in the middle of the highway. But if this is now spilled over where it's literally blocking lanes and blocking traffic, not to mention, if the fire gets started in there, that's going to be a lot of densely packed people that are going to have difficulty getting out. So again, you don't treat the underlying cause, you let it go out of control, you put the 3-inch delta smelt over the people that live in your area, then this is the obvious outcome. But like we said, if you're in California, you keep voting for this, then I guess that's what you want.
Absolutely. Well, we got some good comments over here. Kristen mentions property value is going to go down the toilet. And then we got Foxtradamus, who says we need planetary wind management. We need to censor this angry, radicalized form of air. and then says Califailure is in motion. And then Myra over here says that there's many factors at work. Gruesome Newsom and the Democrats in Sacramento must be replaced. And Thaddeus says authorities are having to bulldoze abandoned cars out of the road, which is absolutely insane when you really think about that. And then shout out to Dell over here in the Getter chat. Appreciate you for tuning in as well. Man, this whole thing, it is really scary when you think about it. And I'm not saying this. I'm just like to report a little bit for people. I did see where there's some theories, and we're not going to cover it necessarily, but that people are saying that this wind is pretty abnormal to have this much wind sustained for over multiple days in a row like this. And there's a lot of people wondering, is some sort of direct energy weapon involved in this, some sort of weather manipulation of some sort? And I do believe that it's at least worth mentioning and even asking at this point. I don't trust anything to do with their government. I do believe that there was some weather manipulation involved in Hawaii. The blue roof stuff is still a little fishy to me. And so I don't know. I think it's worth at least throwing it out there and mentioning it and put it on people's radar to think about.
Yeah, well, even if it wasn't a space laser that started the fire, you do have to ask questions when it's places like in California, in Hawaii, had these massive fires on prime real estate. Same thing with North Carolina, part of the area that's hit by this hurricane. It has we just found a lithium deposits under. Now all of a sudden, all the people that live there, a lot of them are getting moved out. The EPA is saying they can't rebuild in a number of different areas there. Because of changes to how the land is from the flooding or from the roads getting washed out. Guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsor, and then we're going to be right back with even more.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs, Patriot TV is launching a brand new TV series showcasing American-made products, and your business could be featured. Whether you sell your products online on Etsy or Shopify and dream of reaching millions of viewers on smart TVs like Samsung, Sony, TCL, and LG, or apps like Roku, Android, and Apple TV, this is your chance. We're searching for US-based businesses offering all types of products and services proudly made in the USA. If you've ever wanted to showcase your products on TV like QVC or the Home Shopping Network, now's your opportunity. Support our American economy, grow your business, and be seen by loyal Patriot viewers across the country. Know someone with a business or have a business yourself? Don't miss out. Contact us at supportingpatriots.com today. Be a guest on this new exciting TV series. Let's put your American-made products in the spotlight.
Behind the power.
Vladimir Putin will remain in office until 2036.
Beneath the secrecy.
You'll be the most powerful man in the world.
Is the real story that defies reality. Putin is being called bold.
What's your strategy to bring them back to the Stone Age?
Chilling. You won't be able to look away.
How can his kingdom last?
Putin, rated R, in select theaters January 10th.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
Thank you for staying with us. The best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. And I'm going to go watch that Putin movie this weekend. You can go on patriot.tv, select the Insurrection, click on the banner for Putin, and get yourself some tickets. It's a good way to support our program here and help keep us on the air so we can keep bringing you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Well,
absolutely. Before we move on, Mike, I wanted to point one more thing out on this because I meant to say it and it's bothering me if I don't. Wait until the people of California find out that FEMA no longer has any money to help them, but They spent millions of dollars giving it to illegals, and specifically in California, I don't remember the exact number. I'm going to look it up. I think it was $25 million. I know it was millions of dollars anyways that they use to build a migrant welcome center in the state of California. So hopefully these people who lost their homes, maybe they'll be allowed to go to the migrant welcome center to seek shelter while they're rebuilding their homes. But my guess is it'll be just like the warming tents in Chicago. They will not allow U.S. citizens to go into this migrant welcome center. It'll only be for illegals, and so they'll be homeless. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you're right. And we actually had a story to cover on FEMA the other day we didn't get to that, they again got caught with their pants down, lying about funding illegal aliens in Chicago and elsewhere. But they've already closed down most of their centers in I believe it was North Carolina, Tennessee, and one other state. I don't know if it was Florida. But anyway, even though these are still in need, we saw people, American citizens, sleeping in tents since their houses were washed away by a hurricane. But FEMA's already checked out. They're already closing down operations in a number of places, even though the aid is still necessary. But again, it's because they're broke. It's because the Biden regime manipulated rules and allowed FEMA to distribute funds to help illegal aliens or burn up their cash reserves for illegal migrants, rather than their goal, their mission, which is to support Americans during a time of a disaster. But this is the result. This is what happens when you allow that. So yeah, now if the FEMA has little or no power, or no money or whatever to help the people in Los Angeles and Southern California, this will be why. And then of course it'll be Trump will get sworn in a few days, so it's going to be his fault somehow that California is not getting the help they need. But we'll just ignore the fact that they spent billions of dollars helping facilitate an invasion. You're muted, bud.
Sorry, I'm going to give a few more shout outs because I realize there's some people who are in the comments, not in the live chat, but they're in the comments of the post watching our show that way. So No Nonsense Politics, Michael Anthony, Hadi, Roberta, and Rosa, and then Holly Mastine, sorry if I said your last name wrong, says, I guess a California resident here, says, we're not voting for this. Our elections have been stolen from us for the past few elections. Pay attention. And I do agree with that. For the record, I do think that there's definitely some shenanigans going on there. We are seeing California starting to trend to the right a little bit, at least in the last couple elections. So hopefully that continues. And we've got to save California. You got to remember, California was historically a red state until I believe it was Ronald Reagan granted amnesty to all the illegals. And since then, they've never officially voted Republican on the state level ever since that time. So hopefully we can get some changes going on there. So, yep.
Yeah. Well, and again, that goes to show why we can't have amnesty as part of an immigration deal. It needs to be secure the border, mass deportations first, no amnesty. Then we can talk about visa programs or whatever else. But in reality, I think we pretty much need a halt to immigration. There's been some confusion on this H-1B visa. I guess the one I was talking about actually is an O-1 visa for, and that's for again, professional athletes, top scientists, things like that. Like that door, I think we should leave open because we do want to we want to be able to recruit the best and brightest from around the world. But that's not going to be your average, factory worker or whatever. That's going to be a few people with massive talents. The world's the top tier, the 1% of the 1%. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. And we can worry about that after this. So it begins. China cuts undersea internet cables to Taiwan. And a lot of people see this as a sign of an imminent invasion. And China has had a lot of practice lately cutting cables. They've been responsible for a few of these cables and pipelines that have been cut around Ukraine that have affected Europe lately. It's been their container ships, their transport vessels that have, accidentally dropped an anchor in the wrong place, we suspect, or whatever, to help aid Russia's war in Ukraine.
Well, absolutely. At the end of the day, this has been escalating for a while now. We know that they're out here building islands in territory that's not theirs, claiming as theirs, or trying to claim Taiwan. I believe that had Kamala Harris been, I don't want to say won because I know that she would have won. Had they stolen an election, Kamala Harris was going to be sworn in as the president, I believe that China would definitely be escalating things right now in that regard. I think a lot of people were waiting to see what was going to happen there with that. I mean, and you also have to remember we have spent so much, not necessarily money, a lot of money too, but they just print more money. So I mean, that's not as big of a deal. They just push a button and get money. Unfortunately, that's why we got to end the Fed. But we have sent so much of our actual supplies to Ukraine that I don't think people are truly understanding the position we put our own military in and our own allies in that regard. So was it Colonel John Mills we had on who explained to us at one point that if we decided today that we want to replenish all the supplies that we've given to Ukraine, because our shelves are basically bare at this point, we've emptied them out. It would take months, if not a year or so, to ramp up to get to the point of the extra production to start replacing them, and then it would take years of sustaining that new level of production to replace all of the things that we've said. So I didn't understand that. So I thought, oh, okay. I mean, I'm against this, but we'll just make more. I don't think people are understanding the position we put ourselves in. So, like, if I'm just saying, bringing all that up in case, like, what if China does invade Taiwan, or we want to send resources and stuff there to Taiwan to help them? We don't have a whole lot left to send them because we've been sending it over here to Ukraine for who knows what.
Yeah, and we're out of a lot of basic munitions too. It isn't even just the complicated stuff like with after October 7th, we learned how low our supply was of Patriot missiles and anti-missile defense systems, and that we can only make, I think it was 21 of these per month right now with our current capacity. It might have been 29. I know it was under 30. I'm pretty sure it was 21. When it comes to like basic, like 115 millimeter howitzer rounds, we only have enough in stock right now. If there would be a land invasion or someplace that we wanted to defend on land, we would only have enough for around 24 hours, and we'd be totally depleted out of ammunition. Even small arms, basic like 5.56 and 308. Our supply is so low right now that Lake City, where most of our ammunition is produced, they've cut off private sales. They're only building up stuff for the military currently, or at least that was the case maybe 6 months ago when we covered that story. I doubt they've gotten onto a better footing yet. They are saying it was going to take months just to retool or to hire and train people where they could go into 24-hour production again and get the small arms munitions up to where they need to be. And this isn't even looking into like more complex weapons like a lot of what we've sent over to Ukraine, some of these cruise missiles and other things, the ATACMS and I can't think of the name of the other one now. But again, these things are complicated munitions, and if Taiwan is seized, we may lose access to some of the semiconductors, microchips, and things like that we need. I was actually just watching a documentary about this last night, like just how much comes out of Taiwan, and if they were to go down, we wouldn't be able to replace a lot of military equipment. We might have a perfectly functional machine, but let's say its computer is fried, or we can't get the parts we need to bring in the targeting system for a targeting component for a weapon system. And these are the kind of things that we're reliant on. And if China takes them, and they're already encircled, they've done war games and demonstrations. They made it very clear their intention is to seize control of Taiwan and then cut off the world's supply of advanced microprocessors, semiconductors, and all the other chips that are manufactured there. And we don't have an alternative. Unfortunately, all our eggs have been in that basket for years. I know they're trying to build some facilities in Texas right now. I've heard Japan's trying to get really back into the hardware market again, but these things take time. It could be another year to 2 years before the facilities are built in Texas and other places where they're bringing the microprocessor CPU production here to the U.S. And same with Japan. They're saying a year and a half to 2 years just to ramp up. And I know there's probably other efforts in other countries around the world, but the fact of the matter is right now, if they take Taiwan, it cuts off our supply, and this will be bad economically for us, but it also will be horrifying militarily if our supply is totally cut off and we have to go to war, and we won't have the equipment and the advantages that we have right now.
Absolutely. Well, and Thaddeus brings up a good point. Trump will move in Trump time, replenishing our weaponry, and I have no doubt. I mean, that's the only saving grace that we have right now is that we got Trump back in office, who I think will put his foot on the gas, if you will, in terms of doing everything he can to replenish all of this and get things back on track. And not only that, but replenish and restock our petroleum reserves that have been drained as well by the Biden regime. And our country's in a mess right now. I don't think people are truly understanding what a mess the illegitimate Biden regime has put us in. And I think that people need to understand too that, like, Taiwan is way more important to America than Ukraine, and they're an actual ally of ours. So we have a little bit more responsibility to help Taiwan than we ever did Ukraine for various reasons. And this is, once again, though, just proving the point that we've got to start making more of these things here at home in America, of everything. I mean, we surely to goodness people learned from the COVID pandemic, the scam of just how many of these things were manufactured outside of our country, when you got to bring that production back here to the United States of America to if for no other reason than to protect the supply chain in these sorts of situations. But that has got a major priority, and I believe that's going to be part of President Trump. He was all about reshoring American jobs the last go around. I'm sure he's going to be this go around as well. And so we do have a lot of hope when we get President Trump back in office.
Yeah, and I guess the catch is, even if Trump, when Trump comes back in, no matter how fast he moves, there's still going to be a lead time and a buildup, of months at the very least, just to restock these munitions and other things. But you brought up something, a good point too. So COVID really did illustrate just how interdependent we were on China when it came for even basic things like N95 masks. And if they do seize Taiwan, that's going to cut off a lot of our medication. The basic drugs that we use are made in China too. We would almost certainly stop trade and cut off China if they seize Taiwan. And then where are we going to get these just basic things? Or are we just going to have to deal with the shortages until factories can retool here and in allies? I guess Canada used to have a pretty large pharmaceutical manufacturing base up there. But from what I understand, a lot of that's gone to China as well. So it's how quickly can us and our allies spin up alternatives if China moves on Taiwan, and then the world puts them under sanctions for taking a free nation.
Absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out to Pita Chips in the Twitter chat, as well as Kevin over here in the Twitter chat, or X chat. I guess start calling it X. It's always going to be Twitter to me, probably. But thank you guys. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us as well. And look, I agree. I think that President Trump's going to do all that he can, but it's so much worse than I think most people are even understanding right now in terms of how long it's going to. It could potentially take all of Trump's term just to ramp production up to the point where we are starting to restock things in addition to what we're already using. You know what I mean? To really start doing that. And so that's why, getting Trump elected was huge, and we need to enjoy this for the first little bit, but we got to win the next presidential election as well, and the next House and Senate as well, to maintain that so we can continue saving our country moving forward.
Agreed. Well, I guess we'll move on here from terrifying to more ridiculous. Well, nanny state, Biden's FDA trying to ban cigarettes on his way out the door. So this isn't just menthol cigarettes, which is what they were going to do before, but they decided not to because there was an election, and they thought they banned menthol cigarettes that would be seen as targeting black people, and then they might not come out to vote for him or Kamala Harris. Well, I guess it didn't take that to get them not to come out to vote for Harris, but again, this is just more, it's unnecessary. I know, like, smoking is unhealthy and blah, 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 but you can't have, if people choose to do it, then let them. There's a lot of other things, alcohol, we're legalizing marijuana across the country. There's plenty of other dangerous things that our people are allowed to do. You can't nanny state everybody, and then trying to do it this way, just to pass it by fiat, by executive order, or by telling an agency to ban cigarettes instead of allowing a vote on it or allowing the people to decide. It's just more just ridiculous nanny state mentality, and more, Biden slapping the American people in the face as he bolts out the door.
Absolutely. Quick shout out to Austin the Cold Cracker in the Ex-American News chat. Appreciate you for being here. And then we got Jan in the comments of the X feed here. But it's I think that we're at a good spot right now when it comes to tobacco and cigarettes or whatever. And what I mean by that is there's some rules in place to protect other people. I mean, we now know about, secondhand smoke, thirdhand smoke, all these things that are unintentionally putting other people in harm's way. So, you don't have to worry about taking your family to a normal restaurant and sitting here breathing all that in now. They no longer advertise or are allowed to advertise to children, which I think is a good thing as well. But I mean, I look, I don't smoke, but I know people who do, and it's like they know. I've never met a single smoker who's sitting there and says, "I had no clue." You tell them, it's bad for you, right? And they're like, "No, I had no clue." Like, really? I mean, I've never met anybody who didn't know that, And so it's up to them. It's their decision. It's not up to the police. And how did prohibition work out on prohibition on alcohol? How'd that work out for everybody? That's exactly what it's going to do. You're going to start seeing the cartels start running tobacco. If they do this, it's going to open up another trade. Maybe that's why Joe Biden's doing it, trying to continue getting another supply chain of funding to the cartel, for all we know. But it's not up to the government to protect you. It's not up to the government to decide, what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, Joe Biden says that cigarettes should be banned because they're bad for you. Okay, well, on that same note, I'm not saying this is going to happen or I would support this, but RFK could say, okay, sugar's bad for you. I'm going to ban sugar. No sugar's allowed in this country anymore. I mean, and so no more pop, no more, whatever. Like that is the path you're going on, because I would honestly argue that sugar and the refined processed sugar is possibly just as bad, if not worse, for you than cigarettes. Most people are dying from that, I think, than they are lung cancer at this point. So it's the nanny state. At the end of the day, the government needs to stay out of our lives, leave us alone, and let us do what it's free will. Do what you want to do as long as you're not harming other people. Live and let live. I don't care. Somebody right now down the road from me, I'm sure, is smoking a cigarette. It's not affecting me, so therefore I don't want my tax dollars going and trying to police these people and kicking in their door and arresting them for having a cigarette. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Well, as you said yesterday, maybe this is part of Joe Biden's plan to cure cancer before he leaves office. Yeah. But you're exactly right. This would be a gift to the cartels, because that's exactly what happened. They would just start smuggling them up from Mexico or from wherever else through Canada, and all of a sudden people that smoke will be paying $20 a pack. The cartels will be lining their pockets and probably producing knockoffs that don't have the same quality control of what you would buy at a store today. So it's only going to lead to more problems. This isn't this is something people are choosing to do. They want to do that, but again, when you have this nanny state mentality that all decisions have to be made top down, that people don't have the autonomy to make a smart decision on their own, this is what results from that is top down decisions that step on people's toes and are invasive to our guys. We got to take one more quick break, hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with even more.
Vladimir Putin will remain in office until 2036.
Putin is being called bold.
What's your strategy to bring them back to the Stone Age?
Daring. You won't be able to look away.
How can his kingdom last?
Putin. Rated R. In select theaters January 10th.
Hi, fellow patriots. How are you today? No, really, how are you? If you're looking for a way to energize, depuff, revitalize your skin, and maybe soothe some sore muscles, look no further than the Patriot TV store and the Nu Skin Renew Spa IO system. This is not your basic body massaging system. Nuh-uh. This has adaptive microcurrent technology that goes through these wonderful nodes on the bottom to really get in there. When you use it, you feel it just gently tickling in there and massaging everything. It's marvelous. And not only do you get the device, you also get a free tube of the special conductive gel to go with it. So there you are. You can depuff, you can revitalize, energize, and not only that, contour, firm, and tone. And we all want that. So go to the Patriot TV store now and get yours today from Nu Skin, the Renew Spa IO system.
Every day, they put their lives on the line. In the line of duty, in the line of fire. They're protectors, police, firefighters, the military, border patrol agents. They protect us, so Old Glory Bank is protecting them with Old Glory Protect. It's a $100,000 line of duty death benefit free with an Old Glory Bank account with direct deposit. Old Glory Protect from Old Glory Bank, protecting those who protect us.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. You can go to patriot.tv, select the Insurrection, see our sponsors listed below, and help us stay on the air so we can keep bringing you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Well, we've got more to cover in a very limited time. So, breaking. President Trump asked Supreme Court to block New York sentencing in crooked Judge Merchan's case. And again, for those of you guys that don't know, here in just a couple days on Friday, I think. Yeah, Friday. Trump's going to have to either appear in New York, or I guess he was told he can appear remotely for sentencing in the Merchan case, the basically accounting errors that they've turned into felonies. And they're not even really accounting errors. But, they've manipulated the law, twisted the truth, and convicted Trump with a sham trial using evidence that the Supreme Court ruled was illegal. But the facts don't matter, and this isn't the only current legal abuse going on with Trump in these cases. But again, it's a sad state that he's got to take this all the way to the Supreme Court just to try to get basic relief. And everybody knows this case is going to get appealed and dropped because of all the unlawful actions that were taken to get the conviction.
Well, absolutely. And, at the end of the day, I can't believe they're even going through with this. Get serious at this point. The good news is the judge has said that he's not going to sentence President Trump to any jail time, any incarceration. It's like, duh. I don't know what you think would happen at that point. If you try to lock up President Trump right now, you talk about mass chaos in this country, and it would be justified in doing so. Like, I'm sorry, but that we're not going to let some tyrant in New York take our president and lock him up in Rikers Island. You might as well get that out of your daggone mind if that's what you're even remotely thinking. So I don't know what you could potentially sentence him to. He's not going to do community service either. He's not going to be out here on the side of the road picking up trash. That's not going to happen either. So only thing they can really do, I guess, at this point is fine him. I don't really know what, kind of thing that they would do there. Hopefully it's something reasonable, $100 fine or whatever, you know what I mean? They can, hopefully the judge does the correct thing on this. And they haven't done the correct thing the entire time. So I don't know what they're thinking, because it's a lose-lose. Like, once again, if they try to sentence him to any significant punishment, there's going to be outrage. We're not going to stand for this. And if they $100 fine, the left, the donors, the people who put these people in charge are going to be outraged. So I don't really know what they're expecting to happen. I think Friday is going to be interesting. I could see people marching in the streets and protesting because Trump only gets a small, fine of some sort. I think the leftists would get out and potentially protest and burn down part of the city if that's the case. So none of this stuff would surprise me at this point. They would say, oh, it's white privilege is why he's being treated that way. Never mind the fact that he should never even been charged to begin with.
Yeah, this is lose-lose all the way around. But they don't care. They're not motivated by justice. It's all about politics, and it's about damaging your political opponent. It isn't about finding the truth in the case or prosecuting someone who actually knowingly and intentionally violated any law whatsoever. And again, let's not forget, there have been plenty of other prior presidents, Bill Clinton and many others, that have paid off accusers or paid for people's silence. Probably sometimes what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes like they're just a wacko with a fake story, and it's cheaper to pay them off than it is to fight it out in court. And other times it's probably something that legitimately happened, and they're buying their silence. But either way, no one else is getting prosecuted for this kind of stuff. It's clearly intended just to harm President Trump. And they thought that they could use this to brand him as a felon, and that would cost them the election. Well, that clearly didn't work because nobody believed it. but they can't stop the charade now. They've got to go full bore. And unfortunately, like, this isn't the only example. Yesterday, I believe we mentioned that in Jack Smith's case, that Judge Eileen Cannon stepped in and was not going to allow him to release all these files that he had accumulated on Trump, because again, we know they'll get spun into something negative, no matter what it is they actually say or what the truth of the matter is. Anything that proves or counters what he has in this report. Anyway, apparently now Merrick Garland, this is breaking this morning, is just going to release the stuff anyway, because he doesn't think Judge Cannon's order applies to him or the DOJ. But the bottom line is, once Trump takes power, we really do need to investigate the Southern District of New York and our DOJ for coordination and plotting against an individual, a person who at the time is a private citizen, and they, potentially illegally coordinated and used justice as a weapon. Again, the process as the punishment.
Yeah, look, these people need to be prosecuted for the lawfare that they've conducted illegally, unconstitutionally against not only President Trump, but so many American citizens out there. We got so many people sitting in prison right now for peacefully protesting outside of abortion clinics. Everybody's familiar with the January 6th stuff. We got the guy who made the memes on social media. Everybody talking about what happened in Europe right now in terms of people getting locked up for things that they said. We got an American citizen right now who is in prison for making memes about Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then what was it? Foxtradamus over here in the X chat says they didn't even change the laws to convict Al Capone, but New York changed the laws for Trump, which is so true. And then Thaddeus says the label is the sentence, which is exactly what's going on here. And then Kristen says no. She don't think they're going to protest because it's going to snow, and they don't protest in the snow. They'll probably wait till the summer and then do it then. So I don't blame them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you might be right about that. They don't like coming outside when it's cold. They don't want to leave their parents' basements or their cry closets. So yeah, we might not get protests, but it still doesn't solve the problem. They're going to treat Mershon as a hero. And if there is an investigation into it, which again there should be, they're going to act like now this is lawfare suddenly because we're going after their people. When in reality, we have clear indications that laws were broken here, and something needs to be done about it, because we can't have our Department of Justice or any of our court districts weaponized. Well, somebody else.
I got a really good comment here to button this up. Fed Up Conservative says, I never thought about it from this perspective. Fed Up Conservative in the X chat says, the DOJ and the Biden administration go after them as a RICO case for colluding to commit fraud against the nation.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Oh yeah, well, and that should be part of the charges, especially if we show actual coordination, which is what RICO is supposed to be, and not like in Georgia. That's a whole other story. Well, we got a couple other stories I want to grab here real quick, because The View, somebody just threw some cold water on them. The View co-host Sonny Hostin's surgeon husband accused of insurance fraud and explosive RICO lawsuit. So, they like to run their mouth about this kind of stuff all the time. But now that it's right at their back door, let's see what they have to say.
I want somebody to go out and find all the comments Sonny Hostin had made about RICO when there was the Trump RICO case, because she went out here and spoke as if she was some expert on this and made all these wild comments about RICO, and put that together. Now, something I'm going to do that Sonny and many others should have done is I'm going to take the high road here, and I'm going to say that I am willing to wait until all the actual facts and evidence comes out. I believe in innocent until proven guilty. Part of me, the human side of me who hates these people, wants to just come out here and dunk all over them right now and make fun of them and say that he's guilty of all these things. But as someone who has been persecuted myself with trumped up charges and see the corruption within our Department of Justice, I am going to take the high road here, and I will say that I'm going to wait and see all the evidence before I jump to any conclusions, and that's going to be my official statement on this situation.
Well, I'm not. I'm just going to assume this guy's guilty and probably coordinated the whole thing himself, because that's the kind of people they are. Let me see. I guess we got time for this. We got for one last story. Well, I guess the left's going to be angry at Fetterman again. Fetterman, illegals who commit crimes all need to go. If we can't back the Laken Riley Act, that's a reason why we lost. And, I think he's right, because his party, the Democrats, continue to put illegal aliens over American citizens, even when it comes to something like this bill that finally passed after originally getting stonewalled by the Democrats, but the Lake and Riley Act. And he still had, 180 something of them vote against it. And this was just to throw out illegal aliens who were in the country who had already committed crimes to expedite their deportation. So if they can't even deport criminals, then why are they putting these criminals over American citizens?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he co-sponsored this in the Senate, number one.
Yes.
And then I'm pretty sure he also went on to say that they need 7 Democrat votes in the Senate to pass this. So in addition to the Republicans, they need 7 Democrats to vote to pass this. And that's what he was talking about. If they can't get, he said, if we can't get 7 votes in the Senate, then that's why we lost. And he also went on to say, if you're here illegally and you're committing crimes, I don't know why anybody thinks that it's controversial that they all need to go. And he's 100% correct. How is that even remotely controversial to say that? It's not controversial to me that they all need to go, regardless of they committed a crime the moment they crossed the border. But then you got these people in here who are committing extra crimes after being here, and the Democrats still don't want to deport these people. This is literally it's aiding and abetting. It's treason. It's aiding and abetting foreign invaders of our country, as far as I'm concerned. And who in their wildest dreams thought that John Fetterman, when he first came on the scene, was going to be the voice of common sense within the Democrat Party? I believe that there's something to the thing when he had that stroke. Either they really did switch him out with somebody else, or the stroke was like a mental reset for this guy, because he has not been the same at all since he had that stroke early on.
Yeah, maybe that growth on the back of his neck was a brain worm before, and when they got rid of that, now he's snapped back to normal. But what I find interesting about this statement too is basically he's saying that if they don't find 7 Democrats to support this, that they're going to have to fight against a filibuster. So who in the Democrat Party was going to filibuster this bill in the Senate so they couldn't just get a vote of 51 to get it over the finish line? Because basically what he's saying is they need 7 Democrats on top of the 53 Republicans in order to get this through, because they're going to have to override a filibuster. And I know he thinks he can get 6 more Democrats on his side to push the legislation through, but can he? Manchin and Sinema are gone. They were the 2 with the most common sense. Are there any Democrats left in the Senate that would support America and allow us to deport these criminals?
Here's the thing, and the reason I brought that up specifically into more specific of what he said is, I don't think he would have said that if he had not heard rumblings that the Democrats were going to filibuster. You know what I mean? Like, he's in their caucus. Yep. Like, I don't know why he would, you know what I mean? I think that he's saying that because he's already hearing that they're potentially going to filibuster. You talk about political suicide from the Democrats, which I don't know how they're still even a party at this point with all the nonsense they're doing. But if they get up and actually filibuster to prevent this, man, you talk about some outrage, I believe, from the American people. And I don't mean conservatives. I mean, obviously conservatives. I mean some normal people who are still holding on hope that the Democrat Party is the Democrat Party they joined in the 80s. I think they're going to lose a lot more people if they start to actually filibuster on this specific bill.
Yeah, because again, the American people, even a majority of Democrats, want mass deportations, and this is just one step in that. And if it looks like they're a roadblock to freeing America from these invaders, then don't expect to win any elections in 2026 or 2028. People are not going to forget this time, especially as this continues to spiral out of control more and more. There's a story we didn't get to, but in Colorado, they've had the biggest increase in homelessness over the last 4 years throughout this because of this illegal alien invasion, and causing rent to go up and pricing Americans out of living in apartments and homes in Colorado. And this just exemplifies that and where their priorities are. But guys, we are unfortunately out of time. So remember, we have coming up this Friday. If you want to be a part of it, you can go ahead and actually start sending us questions too for the Q&A coming up this Friday with special guest Brandon Strock. There'll be more details of that at patriot.tv, and a discount if you use the code Insurrection. If you want to buy a single day pass, or if you want to get you should become a Patriot TV Defender, but there'll be a substantial discount if you use code Insurrection. But guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to bring more. Help us to bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear, and we'll be back tomorrow with even more.